Imagine two people. One buys a rental property, the other puts the exact same money into index funds. They both walk away thinking they made the smartest possible choice. They're both wrong. One of them forgot to count the hours, and the other forgot to count the zeros. Looking at this baseline, we have a perfectly fair test. Both investors have $50,000 saved. Both earn $55,000 a year. They are the exact same age, living in the exact same city. The only difference is where they park that 50 grand. The debate between real estate and stocks usually derails right here. Most people stare directly at the gross returns and completely ignore the hidden inputs. They calculate the yield but leave out the time, the physical effort, and the stress required to generate it. I'll save you the suspense. If you run the math out over 20 years, both of these paths land in the exact same ballpark. Both investors will successfully build a net worth somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000. So the critical question actually isn't which asset makes more money. The real question you have to ask yourself is, what am I willing to sacrifice to get it? The paths demand entirely different currencies. One requires physical labor, giving up your weekends and managing human beings. The other demands absolute emotional discipline and the patience to endure years of complete boredom. Choosing your investment vehicle is a lifestyle commitment. You are deciding right now which specific psychological burden you are willing to carry for the next 2 decades. This diagram shows the single biggest advantage of real estate: leverage. By putting down just 20%, that $50,000 allows our first investor to buy and control a $250,000 appreciating asset. He is using the bank's money to build his own wealth. The math feels magical early on. He finds a tenant willing to pay $1,800 a month. His mortgage is $1,330. On a spreadsheet, that leaves a clean, bright green margin of $470 in pure paper profit every month. Then reality hits the spreadsheet. Property taxes drain $3,000 a year. Insurance takes another $1,500. And the statistical average dictates that the house will sit empty 1 month out of the year, erasing an entire month's income while the mortgage is still due. And we haven't even touched capital expenditures. Roofs last 20 years. Water heaters die in 10. A responsible owner budgets 1 to 2% of the property's value annually. A $7,000 HVAC replacement isn't an if, it's a when. To keep that profit margin from totally collapsing, you might decide to skip hiring a property manager, saving yourself the 8 to 10% fee. But you just traded a fee for an unpaid part-time job. It feels great to drive past a physical house and say, I own that. It feels terrible to get a frantic text at 10 p.m. on a Saturday because a basement pipe burst and the tenant is moving out. Fast forward 10 or 20 years, factoring in the taxes, the costly fixes, the tenant turnover, and the lost weekends. That beautiful gross cash flow number gets ground down to a fraction of its original size. Real estate is a capital-intensive, leveraged business. After calculating the actual expenses and your own unpaid labor, your true cash-on-cash return often hovers somewhere around 3 to 5%. Now look at the second investor. He drops his 50 grand into a total stock market index fund, sets up an automatic contribution of $300 a month, and closes the browser. For the first few years, this is agonizing. There's no set of keys, no social proof to brag about at dinner parties. His $50,000 grows to $55,000, then maybe $61,000. He checks his account, sees a number on a screen, and it feels like absolutely nothing is happening. This chart shows the reality of compound growth. It is flat and boring for the first 5 years, and then it begins to accelerate. Eventually, the gains generated by the gains produce more wealth each year than his actual monthly deposits. He spends 0 hours managing this portfolio. He answers 0 phone calls from tenants. He takes 0 trips to the hardware store on a Sunday morning. Total time freedom. And the math multiplies beautifully. If he manages to squeeze an extra $200 a month into his contribution, the end result jumps by over $100,000. But he doesn't have the magic of leverage. There is no bank handing him $250,000 to multiply his returns. Every single cent feeding this machine has to come directly from his own paycheck. Building wealth in the market requires 0 physical labor. It demands an incredibly high tolerance for boredom and a relentless, disciplined injection of your own cash over decades. Passive investing gets marketed as the easy road. It is highly efficient, but it extracts its toll entirely through brutal psychological tests. Look at this graph showing the market crash of March 2020, a 34% drop in a matter of weeks. Watching a $150,000 portfolio plummet to $95,000 on a screen is a gut-wrenching, visceral experience. The data is extremely clear here. Most retail investors fail this exact test. They endure the drop, panic, and sell at the exact wrong moment, permanently locking in their losses right before the recovery begins. Real estate saves you from that daily price ticker, but replaces it with extreme concentration risk. You are anchoring a massive chunk of your net worth to the economic health of a single asset in a single zip code, and one professional bad tenant can ruin your year. If they stop paying and force a legal eviction, you face 3 to 6 months of lost rent, plus attorney fees. That wipes out an entire year of profit in one massive swing. If you lose your job on a Tuesday, you can liquidate an index fund from your phone in seconds to pay your bills. You cannot easily slice off the roof of your rental property and sell it to buy groceries. Real estate puts your free time and your concentrated capital in the crosshairs. Stocks leave your weekends alone, but directly attack your psychological resilience through violent, uncontrollable volatility. After 20 years, the mechanisms are crystal clear. Real estate forces wealth through leveraged debt and physical management. Stocks force wealth through automated compounding and emotional restraint. Neither is a scam. In a decision tree, math takes a backseat. First, do you want to run a business? If you want leverage and can manage weekend emergencies, choose real estate. If you demand liquidity and can stomach a 30% crash, index funds are your path. Advanced investors do eventually end up mixing both strategies to get the best of both worlds. But doing that successfully means mastering two entirely different financial languages simultaneously. Do not pick an asset class because a podcast told you it was the optimal route, or your uncle bragged about his returns at Thanksgiving. They aren't living with your stress tolerance, and they rarely map out the actual costs in time and dollars. The only correct answer is the one that accounts for all the hidden variables you will face over a multi-decade timeline. You fall into the ultimate financial trap when you adopt a strategy without first calculating the exact toll it will extract from your life over the next 20 years.